The Martian landscape stretched endlessly, a mosaic of ochre hues illuminated by a pale, distant sun. On the horizon, the domes of Olympus colony shimmered under the faint light, their protective shells housing humanity's first settlement on the red planet. Inside these domes, life bustled with a sense of both trepidation and hope. Humanity had taken its first steps into the cosmos, and Olympus colony was the symbol of that leap. Among the residents of the colony, a sense of anticipation filled the air. Not because of a new scientific breakthrough or the discovery of some ancient Martian relic, but because of something much more primal, much more human. A child was about to be born, the first child to ever take their first breath under the thin, alien skies of Mars. Dr. Elena Vasquez paced the sterile corridor of the medical bay. Her sharp, analytical mind was usually focused on the logistics of running the colony's health systems, but today, her thoughts were on Anna and Mark Holstrom. The couple had been among the first wave of settlers, both scientists who had dedicated their lives to making Mars habitable. When Anna's pregnancy was announced, it had sparked both excitement and controversy. Some argued that it was too soon for such an undertaking. Mars was still a fragile experiment. But nature, as it often does, had its own plans. In the delivery room, Anna gripped Mark's hand tightly. Her breaths were labored, and her face was a mixture of pain and determination. Mark whispered words of encouragement, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and awe. Around them, the medical team worked with quiet precision. The room was filled with the hum of machines, monitoring Anna's vitals, and ensuring that the low Martian gravity wouldn't complicate the birth. When the first cry pierced the air, time seemed to stand still. The child's wail was unlike anything anyone had heard before, a sound that seemed to resonate with the very essence of the colony. Dr. Vasquez gently held the newborn, her gloved hands cradling the tiny body that symbolized so much. She looked at Anna and Mark, her voice soft as she said, "Congratulations! It's a boy!" Tears streamed down Anna's face as she reached for her son. Mark's hands trembled as he touched the baby's head, his voice a whisper. "Hello, little one. Welcome to Mars." News of the birth spread through the colony like wildfire. Within hours, the entire settlement knew about the arrival of the first Martian-born human. Messages of congratulations poured in from Earth, where billions of people followed the event with rapt attention. The child was given the name Leo, a nod to the strength and courage it took to bring him into the world. As the days turned into weeks, Leo became the center of attention. Scientists and doctors monitored his development closely, curious about how the Martian environment would influence his growth. In the low gravity, his tiny limbs moved with ease, and his cries seemed to echo differently in the thin atmosphere. The colony's engineers even designed a special crib for him, ensuring that he'd be safe and comfortable in the unique conditions. Anna and Mark did their best to give Leo as normal a life as possible, though they knew his existence was anything but ordinary. The other colonists doted on him, bringing small gifts and volunteering to babysit. He became a symbol of hope for the colony, a living reminder of why they were there. The settlers, many of whom had left families behind on Earth, found a sense of unity in caring for the child who represented their shared future. As Leo grew, he began to explore his surroundings with the wide-eyed curiosity of any child. But his playground was unlike any other. He would toddle around the biodomes, marveling at the green plants that thrived under artificial lights. He'd press his tiny hands against the dome walls, gazing out at the barren Martian landscape with a mixture of wonder and confusion. For Leo, Mars was home, the only world he knew. By the time he turned 5, Leo was already asking questions that left the adults around him in awe. "Why is the sky red?" he asked one day, his small finger pointing to the horizon. Mark knelt beside him, explaining the fine dust that filled the Martian atmosphere, scattering sunlight in hues of rust and gold. Leo listened intently, his bright eyes reflecting the alien skies. As he grew older, Leo's unique perspective began to shape the colony in unexpected ways. His questions often led to discussions among the scientists and engineers, inspiring new ideas and approaches. One day, as he watched a rover trundle across the rocky terrain, he asked, "Why can't we build something that flies here?" That simple question sparked a project to develop a drone capable of navigating Mars' thin atmosphere, a feat that had seemed impractical before. Leo's education was unlike any other child's. With access to the colony's vast database of Earth's knowledge, he learned about the history of humanity, the science of his surroundings, and the challenges of living on another planet. But he also learned about Earth, a place he'd never seen but felt a deep connection to through the stories and images shared by the colonists. Despite his unique upbringing, Leo faced challenges that no one could have anticipated. As he approached adolescence, he began to realize just how different he was. The physical effects of growing up in low gravity became apparent. His bones and muscles developed differently than they would have on Earth. Doctors worked tirelessly to address these challenges, designing specialized exercises and equipment to ensure his health. But the psychological effects were harder to manage. "Why am I the only one?" he asked his parents one evening, his voice tinged with frustration. Anna and Mark exchanged a glance, searching for the right words. "You're not alone, Leo," Anna said gently. "You have all of us. And one day, there will be others like you." That answer seemed to satisfy him for a time, but as he grew older, the weight of his uniqueness became harder to bear. He longed to visit Earth, to see the blue skies and vast oceans he'd only read about. But he also knew that his body, adapted to Mars, might never withstand Earth's gravity. It was a paradox that he struggled to reconcile. One evening, as he stood by the observation window, gazing out at the Martian landscape, Dr. Vasquez joined him. She had watched him grow from a fragile newborn into a curious and determined young man. "You know, Leo," she said softly, "you're a pioneer. Every step you take, every question you ask, helps us understand what it means to live here. You're not just the first Martian-born human. You're the beginning of something extraordinary." Her words resonated with him, planting a seed of purpose that would grow in the years to come. Leo began to see himself not as an anomaly, but as a bridge between worlds. He became an advocate for expanding the colony, encouraging the settlers to prepare for a future where families could thrive on Mars. His ideas often sparked debates, but his passion was infectious. By the time he reached adulthood, Leo had become a leader in the colony, not through authority, but through inspiration. His journey had been one of self-discovery and resilience, shaped by the challenges and wonders of life on Mars. And as he stood on the rocky surface, gazing up at the stars, he knew that his story was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, under the same vast sky, humanity's future was waiting to be written.